So I'm going to go ahead and let you know Brad Seifers is top of the speaker card list right now, followed by Jay Fine and Roberta Allen. So Brad, if you want to come up to the mic, thank you, and then followed by Jay Fine.
Hi, I am a resident of Sunnyvale for some time. I recently read the Sunnyvale land use plan. At the beginning of that plan, it said that we did all these things, VTA did all these things to increase buses and transit, light rail. We did made all this effort to make transit more available to people. Before they did that, about 90% of the people used their cars. The rest was bicycles and transit. After they did that, 90% of the people used their car. So we know by definition that you can make all the transit available that you want. If people that want to use it, need to use it. Making it available doesn't make them. The bus went right in front of my condo complex and not a couple blocks from work. It was. I live by car 10 minutes from work. It wasn't difficult. It wouldn't have been difficult for me to use the bus, but it took me 10 minutes by car. It would normally take more than half an hour by bus. I have a more productive life by using my car. People want to use their car as long as they do. If your concern is global warming, the consensus of most scientists, I was just watching the thing the other night, most scientists believe that global warming will cause 1 foot of sea level rise in the next century. That's less than an inch a decade. Are you aware that for the last 100 years, the sea level has risen that exact amount, but we're not drowning? You're saying that the freeways are threatened by global warming, by this flood. It's not going to happen. My last point is: are you actually going to? There's pretty much universally, everybody here is against this. Are you going to go back to your plan and say, okay, well, everybody's against it, let's forget the whole thing? I don't think that's going to happen, but that's what should happen. We don't want this.
I want to ask you a question. I gave you my card, but you haven't picked me. And I want to ask, have you, say, the Pledge of Allegiance? You're in a public building. And I have a flag, and I really like everybody to stand up who is still in America and United States.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jay Fine, and then Roberta Allen. And for those of you who are coming in from other stations, we do have speaker cards, and so find a staff person, and we'll take as many of you as we can. All right, go ahead.
Okay, first I want to thank you for at least giving us the impression that you're listening. I read through what I can of this plan, Bay Area. I'm very concerned. I'm concerned that the choices you're offering us are actually a lack of choice. They're all about control. They're all about taking away rights. What you're offering us has a complete lack of respect for private property rights, market freedoms, free enterprise, and liberty. That's my comment. For the record, there was a discussion earlier. There is no information at all about any of the past meetings you've had on your website. How do I say this with such confidence? Not only have I gone through your website looking for it, I received an email this afternoon at 1 p.m. from Leslie Lara, one of your staffers, saying, we haven't gotten anything up on the website, we're hoping to by the end of the month. So just to be clear, there is no information about any of the past meetings. I would have liked to see it. I would have liked to see what questions were asked and what answers were provided. There is no such information. So please be aware that is fact. Okay? Final comment and question. When I arrived, I sat over there at a random spot and I chatted with the people around me. 6 of the 7 people immediately surrounding me were employees of a city. Cupertino, San Jose, one other city, I forget which one. I guess I'm curious, what evidence do you have that the people who are in attendance at these meetings represent the views of the 1.9 million people in Santa Clara County? And is that even important to you? And will you be making decisions based on the assumption that the input you're getting here is representative of Santa Clara County? Thank you.
The input we receive at the public workshops is very important. Obviously, the public workshops in terms of attendance in a region this large, given the number of attendees, given if one looks at Santa Clara County from a demographic perspective, a county approaching 2 million people, from an age, race and ethnicity, and other perspectives, is this room representative of that? Arguably not. When you reference this local staff people that are here from cities, I think it's indicative of the fact that we're working closely with local jurisdictions to work through their processes at the local level, where any plan that is adopted at the regional level ultimately has to be implemented. And so they are keenly interested in what is happening with Plan Bay Area to provide us with input on what works and from the perspective of their jurisdiction, what does not work about it. And that has been the central part of input for this planning process to date. That would be my response. Thank
On the
you.
other hand, there are 3 white guys, so I'm a little confused.
So Roberta is next, and Nina Pellegrini?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm just a small business person in this area and have some, I guess you could say, selfish personal concerns and questions about what impact this is going to have on me. Our economy has already had a big impact on my business. The bus that used to go down the main street in front of my place does not go there anymore because there's not enough riders and it's been cut out by VTA. So there's an apartment house right next door, not far away. So I see the streets in disrepair, the sidewalks in disrepair. They're laying off essential services with the city, and yet you're telling me that this is going to be federally and state funded from entities that have no money to begin with. I mean, where it's, how do I pay my bills when I don't have any money in my checking account, and when, everything that I'm living on is a big loan. And this is kind of what we're doing with government funding and spending and all. And I don't see how this is going to work as far as my future. I don't have that many more years that are going to be productive ahead of me. I mean, I'm in the last quarter of my life, in all probability, or at least the last half. And I don't get it. What impact is it going to have on me personally, and how am I going to pay for this? My kids, my grandkids, and
Don't worry, Obamacare will kill you.
Roberta,
yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, Nina Pellegrini, and then Jack Swartz.
From the plan perspective, this is a long-range plan. It's a 25-year look into the future. Admittedly, it's a hard thing to get your arms around, but it sets the stage for us, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, to do shorter-term investments. And granted, as you point out, currently things aren't looking real good. I mean, there have been bus service cutbacks due to lower than forecasted revenue. So there are issues that need to get resolved in the long term, in the short term, but we're dealing very much in the long term as part of this.
Well, 25 years isn't that far off, though, really.
And Russia has a 5-year plan.
But if we can't take care of holes in the roads and, you know, the potholes and this kind of a thing, and we can't sustain the VTA and the public service that we have right now,
Right.
then I just...
It is difficult, and we play catch up to a large degree. You know, as I mentioned earlier, 80% of the current plan, the one that we're updating now, 80% of the revenues are going to just maintaining and operating existing service. And even at that, we have some shortfalls. What we initiated about 6 months ago is our transit sustainability project, which is looking at ways we can make transit service more efficient. And as it's turning out, we're going to mandate that transit agencies become more efficient through more efficient work rules and the like, in order to be eligible for our federal and state funding that goes back to the transit office.
We're going to mandate to the VTA, but what about to the population? I mean, somebody has to ride the transit.
Yeah. Roberta, these are, I think we tried to do a little bit of answering of the question, and just in respect of people coming behind you, we have 13 more cards. So I realize that not all of these answers are going to be satisfactory to you. We're just doing the best we can with the time we have tonight. Nina, and then Jack Swartz.
Hi, could I ask you to show me my card for a minute? Thank you for doing that. This is my 4th or 5th meeting. I have a lot of other things better to do than to come to these meetings with you guys, that if you want to sell this plan, you got to get these 2 guys out of here. They're putting everybody to sleep. They have no offense to you guys. I figure that you've been through this many times, so now you're not even thinking of what you're saying, but get some oomph, get some, you know, pepper or coffee or something to get yourself awake, because it's putting everybody to sleep. The reasons I come to these meetings is because I lived under a communist country, and I've been here for, I would say, 50 years. This is my country now, and I see it turning the same way as my country did. All of the things that happened, and I'm from Cuba, are happening here. It started just the same way that you're doing it now, little by little, and I call it the pebbles falling on your head, taking your freedoms away, till the point where those pebbles become boulders, and you cannot get out from under. And people say, well, it's falling on my head. Well, let's get along. It's not a big thing. It's just don't walk here, or you can't walk here because it's open space. You can't build here or there. All of those freedoms are taken away. You are doing exactly the same thing here in this country. I don't know if you know what you're doing. You're hurting yourself. And everybody that you go to all of the city councils and mayors and supervisors, and you're dangling the money, the billions of dollars that the cities, their eyes get open because they need the money. They don't realize that once you get a region going, all those 9 regions, all of the counties and all of the cities that are within those regions are going to be gone. The mayors are going to be gone, and the city councils are going to be gone, and they're going to be out of a job because you, people like you, are going to be manipulating everything, and we cannot vote you in or out. So you're going to be there forever, and we are stuck paying the bill. Thank you very much.
Jack Swartz, Bob Strain, and then Jeff Wyndham. So Jack.
Ethically, I'm supposed to tell you I'm a lawyer. I don't know why that's necessary, but here's the mic. It's going to have to get taller if I'm going to use it.
Can you?
I want to read from the Declaration of Independence to you, because you may not be familiar with it. I'm sure you'll all say you are. One of the complaints that the colonies had about the king was that he has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass the people and eat out their substance. Shoe fit. like you're aware. To what extent has the liberty of an individual been considered as an element of your considerations when you establish these scenarios that you presented to us? Individual liberty as an element, to what degree has it been considered?
Excellent question. Answer.
Answer the question, yes.
I have one more after that, but yes.
Can you ask both questions, because that's the time that you'll have, so please.
The other one I want to know is if anyone can tell me what the greenhouse gases are. Can you do that? Well, let's take that one first. That should be easy. The lady on the end said she can do that.
I'll touch on the greenhouse gas.
No, just tell me what they are. All I want to know is what they are.
I'm not going to get into a scientific
No,
debate.
I'm not. Sir, I only have 2 minutes. What are the greenhouse gases? Just name them.
Carbon dioxide.
I'm not. Thank you. I'm not here to debate the science. I'd like to focus on two things.
No, I did not ask you to debate it. I asked you to name the greenhouse gases.
Just state them.
Just state them.
Sir, just stop. Okay, I'm trying to answer your questions in a way
Let's
that's
go back
helpful.
to my other question. If you're not going to answer.
This is the language you're using in your paper.
Excuse me, please, folks.
Reducing carbon emissions is something that is related to
I
SB
did not
375.
talk about emissions, sir. I asked you about what the greenhouse gases are. Name them. What are they? Is there 2 or 5
Sir,
or 3?
I'm not going to entertain that question.
You can't answer the question. That's why.
I'm not going to entertain.
You can't answer.
Please,
it.
all right?
I'm not going to entertain.
Does anybody
Please
know
respond, Jeff.
Okay.
Higher pay scale to answer that question.
In terms of your question of personal liberty and how that was entered into this,
If I said, was it considered as an element? Again, don't evade the question. Was it considered as an element? In other words, you have certain elements under AB 32 and SB 375. You have elements. You have to look at those and then consider each one of those and write something about it, study it, and all kinds of things. To what degree was individual liberty considered as an element?
without free choice at an individual level that is supported by what local jurisdictions do as they implement their plans, the sustainable community strategy cannot be successful. This is about choices.
Is your answer was not considered?
Is that in the state statute? No, that we are given
That's
to
right. It's
implement
not an
those
element that
words
was
are not
considered.
used.
Thank you.
That is correct.
We're trying to get through all of these before we're getting kicked out of here at 8 o'clock, so let's
We'll go to
please.
9.
Bob?
So I keep hearing tonight that individual actions are important. As you know, San Jose has just completed Vision 2040, which has a focus on fiscally sustaining our community. Will we see the San Jose General Plan incorporated in this Bay Area plan? Right now, I see 5 scenarios, and all seem to have a philosophical variance with the needs of San Jose.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, the general plan from San Jose will be a significant impact to the preferred scenario, the draft preferred scenario.
It doesn't work.
Jeff, I think he said he might not be in the room, so we'll put him back. Jenny and Elizabeth Cornelius, our next 2 speakers.
So I love Nina's pebble on the head analogy. I have another one. Michelangelo was asked when he carved the statue of David out of stone, how did you carve the statue of David? And he said he didn't. He just chipped away what wasn't him. And what I see you all doing is chipping away what isn't America, what isn't the United States. I've heard people say they're whatever generation. I'm 6th generation Californian. On my dad's side, it was Bank of America. We are part of the Bank of America family, although we don't have the money. And on my mom's side, so we started the bank in San Francisco. And on my mom's side, we had the very first supermarket in Oakland. And what my family was able to start here was based on freedom. It wasn't based on your contrived scientific reports that are all about controlling every person here. So now my parents are cattle ranchers up in Siskiyou County, and you guys need to let everybody know, as we are voting on these things, what's happening in the big picture. They're taking out dams all over California, all over the United States. The United Nations has declared March 12th as Water Day because we are depleting water, although anybody could tell you in this room, water does not disappear. We are a closed system. Last night, I linked dot to dot how you guys are related to the United Nations. I used your own documents to show where you're part of ICLEI, where you're part of Smart Growth. You look up ICLEI, you look up Smart Growth, and what you get is Smart Growth America. Everybody in this room who has been studying your plan and who has been studying what the United Nations and their infiltration in our country knows that the first word in ICLEI, which is all about local sustainable government, is international. What are our local governments doing in bed with international? And oddly enough, the United Nations right now has a program called One UN. One program, one Rwanda. It's all about social equity. It's all about greenhouse gases. It's all about sustainable development. There is no coincidence. What you guys are doing is destroying this country, and you are getting paid way more money than most of us in this room to destroy it.
Followed by Mimi.
Are they getting the message, do you think, at all? No. Good evening.
Good evening. Gentlemen, I do think you are opening Pandora's box here. I don't think you have any idea of the ills that you are going to be bringing down on the communities. I do think that nobody in their right mind thinks that high-density housing is a solution to transportation problems. So that's my statement. I do think you should go back to the drawing board and tear up your plans, and let's just let go home. Let's just finish it.
Go and stay go.
But I do have a question, and it's regarding when you have got these transportation corridors moving and you are building your low, high density housing, what if there is a problem, obstinate homeowner in the way? Are you going to move him off by eminent domain? Has this been planned?
Rezoning.
Wait a minute, I've not finished. And when you have taken over the land, whether by eminent domain or purchase, are you going to let developers come in now and make a profit? What has happened in some areas of the country. When these houses are built, is this going to be public housing that is run by, let's say, the city of San Jose, or is it going to be private housing? If it's going to be private housing, is it going to be by rent, low income? Or are you going to have them low income by townhouses? And what happens when we have an enterprising low income new homeowner? Are you going to allow them then to turn around and sell at a quick profit, having subsidized all of this?
Okay.
These
Thank you.
questions need to be addressed.
Okay, Elizabeth, that's your time. Let's see if we can get some responses from the panel.
Just on the eminent domain issue, yes, the transportation agencies here in the Bay Area, in this case, Santa Clara VTA, has eminent domain powers that they
terrible.
can
Disgraceful.
Goodbye,
Okay,
private
just,
And you're going to use it.
not for housing, for transportation corridors.
okay.
Tomorrow.
Are there other questions that you all can answer? Because I want to keep us moving because I want to make sure we can hear from everyone.
I think beyond the actual transportation artery, which is what Doug is referring to, the list of questions that you asked are questions that would be answered at the local level. again, looking at this neighborhood we're in right now, the North First Street area of San Jose, where there's a neighborhood plan that was adopted by the city of San Jose, how that plan is implemented is up to the city of San Jose. The type of housing, the location of housing, the policies around affordable housing, all of those things happen at the local level. None of that, our agencies do not have control over that at all.
You are producing ghettos when you move into these low, high-density housing.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Mimi, and then Richard G., followed by Sandy.
Don't forget to ask about this sheet. I'll hand it out.
I have been to the spring visioning sessions. I have been to the spring MTC meetings. I have been studying you guys for a long time. And it's extremely disconcerting to me to have you essentially flat out lie to people in this room. Because you have, with your regional housing needs allocation and your priority development areas, you are going to come to local governments, you are going to tell them how much they should put in their areas and where it should be. And yes, they have a choice. They have a choice of either being able to take the money and take this housing or not take it, and in that case, they would end up without their transportation funds. So this is the fist in the velvet glove. This is essentially you are forcing people into doing this, and you're sitting here and telling us bold-faced lies. You're telling us bold-faced lies that you're listening to what we said, because you never listened to what we said at the MTC meetings. You never responded to anything from us. You responded a lot to the social equity people, but not to us. So let me translate bullcrap into English here. We do not like what's happening. We do not like the deceit, we do not like the lies, and furthermore, we do not like the presumption of the fact that you can plan for us. So I would like to tell everybody here, fortunately for us, or unfortunately, the federal government is in the process of determining whether or not MTC should be recertified. So I would like you all to take this piece of paper that people are passing around. There's an email address where you can send your comments about MTC's performance. Mike DeSaligny is also looking at splitting up MTC. Probably the most logical way to split them up is leave the San Francisco and Oakland metropolitan MTC together and then split out the others, because we do not want forced urbanization in our areas. You said the local people had the choice. Livermore, you have come to Livermore, which is a cow town, and you want to put BART into downtown Livermore with high-density housing and a transit area. So I'm sorry, but I don't like the lies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Richard G., Sandy.
This one?
Earlier, is it Ken Kirky? That's you? You said there's no mandate made upon anyone. That was about an hour ago. I wonder where the $256 billion is coming from. Is that being contributed voluntarily from some organization?
That's our estimate of transportation dollars that would be available to the region over the next 25 years.
Okay. Because if you take $256 billion per 7 million people, that comes out to $11 trillion. I suggest, as good American citizens, that you suggest the federal government keep their money and pay off the national debt. What do you think? $256 billion goes a long way to pay off a few bills. And we're drowning in debt. We're going to have an unsustainable national debt. That's unsustainable. I don't know about this getting us out of our cars being unsustainable, but I do know that paying interest that's equal to the whole budget is unsustainable, and that's coming down the road. So I suggest you consider voluntarily returning that money to the federal government. we've tried many incentives over the last years to get people out of their cars. Light rail, example. And I go by light rail every once in a while in San Jose, and there's long train with 2 people in it. I mean, and somebody said 90% still want to stay in their cars. We've done everything we could to encourage people to get out of their cars. People want to be in their cars, so you're not going to do it. And regarding climate change and global warming, which seems to be the background for all this stuff, what is the ideal temperature?
Please wrap up, Richard. Is that a question?
Yeah. What is it? Should we not be in a degree warmer or a degree cold? They say that in Canada and Russia they'll save lives by being a little warmer. Seriously. So maybe we ought to do some climate warmth in our society and get rid of this unsustainable federal spending.
Isn't that why we have people coming to California?
Sandy, Jan, Quinn, I just want to note that we are running a little bit over time. So those of you who are leaving us, thank you very much for coming, and please do turn in your comment cards before you leave at the front table. We have just a few more comment cards. Thanks. Sandy.
Again, I'd like to know who's going to own these stacked and packed houses. And are illegal immigrants going to have the same opportunities at living in these housings that we are subsidizing over American citizens? And during the last break, I went upstairs and I asked, if I go outside, can I get back in this building? And I was told no, because the door is locked. We have a lot of people who intended to show here tonight after work. They have to work, they have to make a living. Some of them are single parents. So basically, you are shutting out a ton of people on purpose. I can't imagine having an open meeting like this
With the doors closed.
with the doors locked. You know, if you start creating all of this and creating the same communities all throughout the state, let's see, if I move into the Central Valley, my wage is going to be lower. But if we live in communities where everything's the same, isn't that going to affect everyone's wages? Isn't that called socialism?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand this. It really just, it's pathetic.
Jan, Quinn, Andrea, Mackenzie. Are you Jan or Andrea? Okay.
I have just 2 or 3 points that I'd like to make, not necessarily questions.
Okay.
Although I would like to know, my one question is, how many members are on the CARB board?
On
The California Air Resources Board?
I don't know the exact number, but we can get that back to you.
But yet the CARB is mandating what you're following.
That's right.
So you don't know how many members are on that board?
Not exactly, no.
I would like you to know, and the people in this room to know, that at least one of those members spouted off that, or verified himself, that he was a graduate of Davis with a scientific degree, and that has been proven to not be the case.
Claimed a PhD.
Claimed a PhD, and in fact, he is still on that board. So here's a gentleman who is on the board, and I'm not sure, are these people appointed? The CARB people appointed? By voters or by elected officials? Elected officials. Okay, that leads me to my other point. You say that housing is dictated at the local level, that the local municipalities have the final say-so to that. Well, in fact, I think that we know that the municipalities are extorted by the feds and the state. The money, I think Mimi mentioned it, the money comes from them for fixing our roads, our highways, etc. And if we don't do or adhere to their housing, then they don't give us that money that should be used for that. One example is Pleasanton. We apparently didn't meet the, low-income housing for 3,500 units or 3,200 units. The city of Pleasanton was sued by either the state and or the feds. I don't know which it was. So they succumbed. And now, so we were extorted, basically. And this is the kind of thing that's happening. And my final point in regard to that is that when that happens, and municipalities are made to do that, they don't have the monies, they raise regulations and taxes on their local taxpayers, who are businesses. Our business may not be able to stay in this state much longer, and several other people here mentioned that tonight. When the businesses leave, and they are leaving California by the thousands, where is your tax base going to come from? These cities are going bankrupt. So as mentioned earlier, we don't have the extra funds to be able to do what you're wanting us to do, let alone all the other reasons why we shouldn't be doing it. Thank you.
Okay.